My ex, 32M, and I, 26F, met when I was 20, but we were only friends until we started dating 2.5 years ago. I found out last year that he had been cheating on me for basically our whole relationship with a girl, Kelsey, 30F, whom he met through a mutual friend. I broke things off after I found out and told the girl's fiancé, Dave, 35M, about their affair. Dave ended up breaking off their engagement, and Kelsey seemed nonchalant about it until she realized that my ex's money wasn't actually his. For context, my grandma left me a lot after she passed back in 2019, and my ex had been flaunting the things I'd gifted him throughout our relationship to her, even going as far as to claim that the house and antique car my grandpa left for me and his will were his. It's not something I'm proud of now that I think back on it, but I did allow my ex to walk all over me for the first month or two after I broke things off because I missed him so much. I gave him money and tried to make things work but would always get reprimanded by my parents and friends when I'd run to them crying after he ghosted me for her. I didn't officially give him up until Dave messaged me and told me that Kelsey was rubbing it in some of their old friends' faces about how pathetic I was and how desperate I was for my ex, who didn't even give a crap about me. I was really upset and asked him if he'd be willing to meet up with me because I knew that if I talked to my parents or friends about this, they'd just lecture me even more. He agreed, and the two of us met up at a random food cart place. We ended up spending most of the day just exploring and talking about how we were doing. Dave also confided in me about his relationship with Kelsey. They'd known each other for 10 years and had liked each other for most of the time they were friends, but he wasn't looking for a relationship because he was focusing on school. He had decided to give it a chance after she'd driven 12+ hours overnight to him because they talked on the phone, and he said he was feeling under the weather and was stressed from how vigorous his residency schedule was. She dropped everything to take care of him, helped clean his place, and made him some home-cooked meals after finding out that he was surviving off vending machine snacks and instant coffee. He told me in detail about how he'd never felt so loved and cared for, and how after she'd done that for him, he decided that she was the one, and that if this wasn't love, then love wasn't real. Finding out that she was cheating for the last 2 years made everything click into place. She'd been pushing off getting married, telling all her friends that she was having doubts about him. He'd been trying to convince her to go to couples counseling when I broke the news to him that she was sleeping with my ex-boyfriend. I felt like a monster, hearing their love story and then realizing that they didn't get their happy ending because of my ex and me, which messed with my head. We continued to talk from time to time, checking in on each other and meeting up for a quick bite now and then. We lost contact after Kelsey somehow convinced him to take her back. I became slightly depressed after he cut me off, explaining that he was still in love with her and wanted to work things out, which meant a clean slate. I found out through some internet snooping that my ex-boyfriend cheated on Kelsey too, which was why she went back to Dave. A few months passed, and things went back to semi-normal. I started getting therapy and was about ready to put myself back out there to try the dating pool again when, around New Year's, I got a call from Dave. He was crying and asked if I was available to talk. I, of course, said yes and out of concern met up with him at his place. He broke down to me and told me about how he found Kelsey and my ex in his mom's guest bedroom during Christmas when she'd snuck him in for something quick during his family's busy holiday party. All hell broke loose when he found them in the guest bedroom after spending 20 minutes looking for her everywhere. We drank a bit and ended up sleeping together. He apologized and told me that it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind, that he just wanted revenge intimacy but it didn't make him feel any better after. I tried to message him platonically a few times after to see if he was alright, but he blocked me. So, I dropped it and went on with my therapy in life. I went in last week to check with my doctor since I'd been getting bad cramps and to get a new prescription refill for my birth control that I use to help with my PCOS. I had to do a usual test to double check for the possibility of pregnancy and was very surprised when it came back positive. I have been sitting on this new knowledge and contemplating if I should tell him, not tell him, or if I should even keep the pregnancy. My doctor did inform me that since I'm still in the earlier stages, I am still at a big risk of having complications and losing it. So, I don't know if I should even be worrying at all about all of this since there is a chance that I could lose it, and then it'd just seem like I was trying to grab at his attention or something, especially after he'd made it clear to me that he wasn't comfortable talking to me anymore after we slept together. I haven't told anyone and have been going crazy because I don't know what to do. Update 1. A lot has happened since my original post 15 months ago. I know many people were against this, but I went through with the pregnancy, and I am forever thankful for my beautiful baby. I had originally planned to terminate, but I found myself unable to go through with the appointment. My parents were very upset with me, and my whole family disowned me. I listened to what some of you said about letting the father, Dave, know. After many failed attempts to reach out to him, I decided to go in person. Dave was not happy when I showed up at his place, but when I told him why I was there, he agreed to talk with me. Dave let me know that he'd officially ended things with Kelsey and wanted to go no contact with me because I was another tie to his past with her, but he was willing to try and figure out a co-parenting plan with me if I agreed to a paternity test first. I, of course, felt a bit bad about the paternity test part but agreed to it since we both had only been acquaintances that bonded over our trauma. Everything was honestly easy cruising until I started to spot around the 26-week mark. My obgyn explained that while spotting is normal during pregnancy, mine was heavier, and my blood sugar and blood pressure also worried them because of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia risk. After a few nights of Dave insisting on sleeping on my couch, I had him help me move some of my things to his place since he lived closer to the hospital. I'm very thankful I decided to semi-move in with him when I did because I went into premature labor at 52 weeks. I'm very thankful to have had Dave and his family as my support system. His mom would come and switch out with him at the hospital and advocate for me whenever I felt washed out or unheard. She helped me both emotionally and physically and stood by me. Dave's mom also helped me work through my emotions when all I wanted was my mom, but she and my dad had gone no contact with me after I decided to keep and have my baby. Dave's mom was an absolute godsend also because she's a retired nurse and explained things to me when we found out that my baby had respiratory problems and had SUA, single umbilical artery, and that it could have been a factor in why I went into premature labor. She stayed with Dave and me so she could help me with pumping since I wasn't able to produce milk and encouraged me when I felt like such a failure for not being able to take care of my son when he needed me most. She drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NICU because I was healing and so mentally and physically exhausted. I really and truly believe that I didn't fall into deep postpartum depression because she held me and helped me with each step and was always so patient with me, even when I wasn't with myself. Dave's mom would constantly remind me that nothing was our fault and no one did anything wrong, just that everyone is faced with hardships in life, and this was one we'd work together to get through. My son graduated from the NICU and came home a month after I did. Dave's mom visited us often and helped with him since Dave and I are first-time parents. Dave's dad joked that he felt like she and I had the baby together, and he and Dave were both just background characters who make guest star appearances every now and then. Dave was working so much to build more PTO, and his mom wouldn't bring his dad along when she'd come to visit since she didn't want him to disturb me and the baby with his loudness. Dave's dad is hard of hearing and can sometimes be unaware of his volume, so he took no offense to it. Dave's siblings and family members posted a lot about our son because he was the first grandchild and the first baby in a long time. Somehow, someone must have shared a photo or something, but pictures of us reached my family, and my parents demanded I let them meet my son. Dave was supportive of whatever I chose to do and said he'd agree to them meeting him if that's what I wanted. After thinking about it for a few days, I decided that I wanted to talk to my parents before I let them meet my son. When we met up to talk, my parents were offended that I didn't bring my son with us and left him with Dave's parents. They said some really hurtful things, and then my dad started to question when Dave was going to ask him for permission for us to get married since we didn't already have an impromptu wedding while I was pregnant. I was okay with them insulting me since I'd grown up with it and was used to it, but once my parents targeted Dave and his family, I became upset and decided it was time for us to leave. My parents did try to petition for legal visitation rights, and honestly, before this whole ordeal, I didn't even know that grandparents' rights existed, but they were denied because my son is still very young, and because both Dave and I are on good terms, are living in the same household, and they couldn't find or prove that there was any danger to our son's well-being. My family did try to reach out to us and claim that we were horrible people for denying my parents their grandchild, but no one ever seemed to be able to make a peep when Dave's family would defend us and point out that my family had disowned me and that no one cared to see if I was okay until after I had the baby and everything was handled. Dave's mom and my mom got into a verbal, almost physical, altercation after my mom made false reports to CPS and called the police to do multiple welfare checks on us. My mom was given a warning by the police for harassing us after one specific incident where she threw a tantrum and caused a scene when the police found nothing wrong in the welfare check, and they refused to listen to her demands to have my son temporarily taken away from us and put in her custody for his safety. Dave and I currently have restraining orders pending against my parents and certain family members. One of the reasons I decided to update is that about 2 months ago, a friend of Dave's asked him out for some drinks, and they ran into Kelsey, who later messaged him to tell him that she regretted the way they ended things and how hurt she was when she heard that we had a baby together, especially so soon after their relationship. Dave wouldn't talk to me about how he felt, and when I asked him, he just brushed me off or switched the conversation to a topic about our son that he knew would distract me. I noticed Dave pulling away from me and how our relationship became a bit awkward and strained after their run-in and her message. I know he still has feelings for her, and I am afraid that he might feel trapped with me and our son. I also noticed that the drama with my family has made Dave and his family less patient with me and my son. During Mother's Day, I overheard a few of his family members make comments to Dave about me being at their family barbecue since I was just my son's mom and not really part of the family. Dave just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with. With how tense things have been, I have been thinking about moving out and back into my place. I stayed with Dave at his place after I gave birth, but now that our son is slightly older and I am healed, I want to give Dave back some space so that he can start dating again if he wants to and to give him back some more bachelor time when I have our son. I want to find a way to approach moving out and us making a co-parenting plan without making things more awkward or possibly ruining the relationship I have with Dave and his parents. I don't want them to feel like I'm not grateful or anything, but I do want to go back to work and get my life back on track so that I can provide my portion of needs for my son and not depend on his family more than appropriate. Mini update. I've been trying my best not to check my phone or Reddit since I'm honestly a little overwhelmed right now. I want to let you all know that I did talk to Dave, and he was against me moving out. He also wasn't willing to talk about how he's been acting after running into his ex and said I was bringing up something that didn't matter since we were talking about me wanting to move out. I haven't mentioned what I heard during Mother's Day, and I don't think I'm going to because I feel really bad that it was meant to be a private conversation. I don't think anyone meant anything bad. During our conversation, Dave told me that maybe I'm just overthinking or overreacting and that I shouldn't make big decisions like moving out. He also mentioned that because our son is a preemie, he'd prefer if one of us was a stay-at-home parent until he turned 2 to 3 years old so he could catch up with his peers. Then, once he started pre-K, we could go back to work. However, I feel like he's been trying to avoid me since the conversation, but I could also be overthinking like he said. After reading some comments, I do feel like my feelings are valid, but I am also not sure anymore. I want to do what's best for my son. I know people already think I'm dumb and that I shouldn't have had him, but I am trying to be better for my son. I feel like he's my only family left, and I really want to try to do what's best for him.